Hello everyone and welcome to the SmartTalk where LSP and I will be going over the AMA and what was said, what we think of it, in more of a conversational style that we have in the past, and a matter of perspective followed by the word of the week. LSP will be going over fundamental versus technical analysis. So we'll start with the key numbers that they've showed us during the AMA, and we can see right here that there's a massive number of dollars in the USDC yield, then CHSB, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Binance, and the lowest are interestingly Tether and XRP. In total, they've got $2 billion worth of assets under management, 20 executed protected burns, $100 million added to the METC Smart Yield in an hour, 10,000 community premium members, and 50,000 users yielding CHSB. So, yeah, LSP, why do you think the USDT is that much lower than USDC is?
USDT versus US. Say that again.
USDT versus USDC. Basically, they're both the same, but the USDT was.
I think it could very well be something just as simple as people have no idea what USDT is, and they just because the USD. The other one, flipping out, man. Oh, God, it's, TNT. More, he's more in the limelight. It was there before. People are used to it. People know what it is. People have probably had time to research it. And then when something gets added to the app, there's that round of going online, doing a quick search, trying to figure out what it is, because not everybody is, well versed. You've got to remember, there's a lot of people that are using the Wealth app. That are new to crypto. I think we forget this when we have our discussions and we go through a lot of, analysis. I do this myself. When I do analysis, I just assume people know what, everything that I'm talking about. And it's just not the case. There are a lot of people who are new. There are a lot of people that have to go through that learning curve, and a lot of the information that they get, let's put it this way, is through the community. So they have to almost take a leap of faith, I guess, in the community, the Discord, some of the videos that they watch, Twitter, all the official accounts and things like that. So a lot of that information comes from all of these different sources within the community and the company itself. So they do have to take a leap of faith. But I think generally that's what it is. It really could just be as simple as that. People don't know what it is. So they're just plowing all of their money into what they're comfortable with,
Yeah, that makes sense. The comfort zone is going to be USDC. And also my guess to why it's bigger than CHSB at the moment is because we're in, let's say, a bearish zone. These last few months haven't been as thriving as, let's say, March to May or February to May or whatever. So
but don't forget also as well with the USDC, the US dollar, is something that's been around for a very long time. Obviously, everybody knows what the US dollar is. It is the world reserve currency. And let's assume that the US dollar is just going to crash in the next year. We'll just be hypothetical, right? Nobody's going to see that coming because people have confidence in the US dollar. Even now, still with everything that's going on in the world, global economy shutting down, individual economies, around the world with everything that's happened with this pandemic, causing so many problems, people still have faith in the US dollar. Okay, so to switch that off and say, wait a minute, I'm not really sure about this. Maybe I should be looking elsewhere to put my money. Maybe I should be putting my money into physical gold, for example. Again, these are hypotheticals. That's going to take time. People have to go through that learning curve and that kind of awareness which comes with going through something, dealing with the pain of going through something. And then later on, you're like, okay, do you know what? I'm not really comfortable with USD. We saw this in 2008 with the subprime lending crisis. People's consciousness shifted. And then going into sort of 2010, 2011 and 12, if you look at the data, people's shopping and, basically consumers, the way that they were spending money online and in store changed forever. It will never go back to the way it was before 2008.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Also, I wonder how the community will react if they get the euro yield and euro stablecoin on the app. That would be strange because we're mostly in Europe. So
well, it's a big deal.
I think we trust euro slightly more, maybe.
Yeah, well, again, it depends on, you have obviously, I mean, Europe's huge, right? There's a lot of countries in Europe. And I think because everybody knows what the euro is, okay, which ties into what we were just saying about USDC and USDT, because everybody knows what the euro is, when it's added, if it's added the way, as a stable coin, so on, getting yield on the euro, it's an instant thumbs up straight away. It's not this curve. It's not this, what do we do with it? It's not, oh, it's new, I need to go. Everybody knows what the euro is. So it's like, oh, perfect. And a lot of people, especially young people who are, very savvy with their money and putting money aside, it's a perfect place, for them to plow their money into and do it with confidence. Yeah, that's effectively the key word, confidence.
That'll be interesting if they ever do add it up. Next thing in line was the in-app Smart Yield report. Instead of having it sent by email every month, they want it to be directly implemented in the app. This will probably come in the next month or so. And after that, they went straight on to the CHSB Utilities. So when you've got enough CHSB, you can vote. When you own some CHSB, the rate is protected by the protect and burn. As we've seen, they've done 20 of them so far. If you've got enough CHSB and you stake them, you can become premium and have a bigger yield and lower fees. And then they've also talked about the smart yield that is basically used also for the premiums, but can be accessible to anyone, and the community. Protect and burn NFTs are also some utilities of the CHSB. These are only available for Genesis premiums, so obviously only people who have CHSB. The Chili's drops were given to random people, but also to Genesis premium owners. Governance rights is the National Council, so when you've got enough CHSBs, once again, you may participate in this National Council that takes decisions and votes for the future of SwissBorg and what they're going to be doing. And a very interesting part of CHSB Utilities that we'll see later on are the Swissbook Ventures, which are a group of big holders that invest in new projects in hopes of making profit and being able to collaborate with the services these projects are trying to get on the market.
All of these are fine. I mean, we all know what they are. SwissBorg Ventures is obviously a little bit new. My thinking on SwissBorg Ventures, the first thing that came to my mind when I heard this yesterday, and I'll just say as well before I continue, my French is okay. Yeah, it's not amazing. So there's quite a few things that I may have missed, but I got the general gist of the AMA when I was listening. But with SwissBorg Ventures, and I say that just to say if I say something that might be slightly off, I'm sure Ben will correct me. But with the SwissBorg Ventures, my only issue would be how would that profit, not necessarily monetarily, but how would that help and profit the the existing community who simply don't have that sort of money to be part of SwissBorg Ventures. I know when we move down the list, we will get to the IFO, and that's for for everybody. But SwissBorg Ventures, like I said, will every person who stakes CHSB and believes in this company, no matter how small the holding is, be in a position to have a say in what SwissBorg Ventures does and what they do it with, what they're invested in, and how will that benefit the broader spectrum of the community. But I don't know, maybe it's early days, and I'm sure as the SwissBorg, we all know, is a very community-centric company, and they do care about their community. They do care about what every person that uses the Wealth app and those people that stake CHSB and buy CHSB do, and they do try to help in every way that they can. And they want everybody to flourish. So I'm sure they are way ahead of the game. These are just my thoughts at the minute, that's all.
Yeah, you're correct in the way that SwissBorg Ventures at this very, very moment hasn't really provided any extremely profitable aspects to everyone. But we'll go ahead and see why that is going to be helpful for people, and why the people yesterday were quite excited of the investments that they've decided to make. There's some cool stuff there.
Excellent.
The big announcement was the SwissBorg listing on Bitfinex. So to be honest, I had not heard of this trading platform before they showed it on the AMA. I was translating the AMA from French to English for the people who were on the Discord server, and they were quite optimistic, but I had no idea if it was a good, very good, or just a good thing. It looks like it's going to help them have more volume and gain in credibility, which is going to be a massive assistance for the listing on bigger exchanges and the collaboration on other projects that already told them that they needed a little bit more volume to be accepted as a collaborator. So it's going to basically be a door to open them on also bigger projects, hopefully in the future, and that's what's going to be interesting.
No, I agree that it is a stepping stone, and to be honest, when you're listing on big exchanges, you have to start from somewhere. It's like, you know, a company that goes public will list on Amex, for example, before they're, you know, listed on the Nasdaq. It's the same thing. And I'm talking about tech companies, obviously, but you know, with Bitfinex, ultimately the end goal, regardless of whether you understand what's going on or not, whether you understand being listed on an exchange, the benefits of that or not, the reality is the key element is volume. This is what we want. We want people to trade, not trade, but to have more volume coming into CHSB. There is a fear, obviously, that can cause a lot of volatility, but I think they factored that in, when they went with Bitfinex. And then obviously, as SwissBorg grows, and CHSB is, invested in and traded more and more volumes come into it. If you control the steady increase of volume going into a token, then you won't see these insane spikes back and forth and all over the place. And it is, and I'll say this as well, it is very difficult, okay, to stop whales from manipulating price, by just jumping straight onto a massive exchange like Binance, or being listed on Binance or being listed on one of these other sort of, they call them tier one exchanges, don't they? Yeah, tier one exchanges, or the big boys. But it's about controlling. I think it's about controlling volumes. It is a stepping stone. It's definitely a good thing. There's no question about that. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to affect the volumes, to be honest, because you guys all know me by now. I'm a technical analyst. I love reading charts, and this is what I do. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. It looks like it's definitely a good news. And on this next part, we'll be going over Swissbook Ventures. So I'll explain quickly what these different projects they've been investing are and why. So as I've understood, Ocam.fi is going to be a Cardano IFO launchpad. So it's going to allow Swissborg's IFO to also have the projects that are available on the Cardano blockchain. So it's basically going to be used and useful to get the most projects possible on the launchpads. Other launchpads don't always have different blockchains available, but Swissborgs will have other blockchains available. One that's very interesting for the people is going to be also Kai Foundation, which is enabling credit cards for cryptocurrency trading platforms or investing platforms. So hopefully they will be able to have a Swissborg credit card and or accept credit card payments for investing on Swissborg. This is something that they've hinted multiple times in the AMA. So this is something also people have been looking forward to a lot, but it's not really official yet. But hopefully with their investment in Kai Foundation, they'll be able to get all of that out. And the interesting, the other ones are about DeFi and increasing the revenue that Swissborg will be having with their smart yields, and that's the main big part of it. So we can see that Swissborg Ventures are going to be useful to invest, make profits on small solid projects, and then use their utilities for the better functioning of the platform of Swissborg.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously there's finance. I remember when I was listening yesterday about unbound finance, that's something that a lot of companies already offer. But I know that when Swissborg do something, they're always thinking about, their community. I'm not saying other companies don't, but They think about their community. They think about how to do it safely, and to benefit all. Just like I was discussing, the Swissbook Ventures previously, saying, how is this going to benefit, so on and so on and so on. And we can see it already does, with you explaining some of these IFO ideas. That's if big whales invest in, or these big investors investing, in the SwissBorg Ventures, and then that gets filtered down into being, SwissBorg holders being able to have more options within the IFO, then of course that's going to benefit everybody. So I think that's amazing.
Certainly, yeah, definitely. Next step is the crypto. Oh well, the roadmap. This is just a list of what they want to do, but it's not. It's not certainly what they. Well, let's say they're not going to be following it to the letter. There will be some stuff that's going to be added in the middle or on the side, or. But this is the main, let's say, objectives for the next trimester.
So what does? Yeah. I know it's a bit off topic, but prochainement, what does that mean?
Which one?
All the way across, basically future, and the one previous to that, is it prochainement?
Oh yeah, the next coming up.
Coming up, yes.
So,
I thought so. Yeah.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Basically very soon. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. So right now we're going to be seeing the crypto challenge, which we'll talk about just after this. Server-side PIN is going to be an added layer of security. The French version of the app is going to help French people hop on the app and use it. And the new yield update, which we're going to go over also in a couple of slides. Recurring investments are going to be coming on the app as well, which means you'll be able to set your bank account to be automatically used for recurring investment every month, every week, every day. You choose.
Similar to standing order, effectively.
Similar to standing order, definitely. And thematics are going to be basically ETFs, so groupments of similar objective cryptocurrencies in one batch that you'll be able to participate in. So let's say you've got a bag of one of each cryptocurrency, or 10,000 of each, and instead of buying separately all of these cryptocurrencies, you'll have the possibility to group them all up and buy a portion of all of them. That's
effectively like an index fund,
Yeah, like an index fund, exactly. And then for the future, they've delayed a little bit the IFO Launchpad, the Euro Yield, and research and development. But this will be coming up. And right now we're going to go over the crypto challenge. There's a few new things that are going to be happening here. So it's not like the community app in the sense that the rewards will be given every month to the top 1,000 players. I think that's quite cool to give more incentive to play, because it's true that it's not really helpful to not know when you'll be getting the rewards for your gaming, let's say.
Yeah, I agree.
So having a monthly reward, I think that's a very, very good way to go. And the fact that it's free, and there'll obviously be also ways to share it to your friends, it's probably going to be very cool also to get loads of new people on the ecosystem. And a great motivator to play every day. So that's a reminiscence of SwissBorg being in your life all the time.
I think as well. Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, if it's done correctly and done properly, it's going to be a fantastic educational tool as well,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so the IFO Launchpad is going to be looking like this. These are the second time we see these images. So they were in the first AMA, but for the newcomers, this is going to be the interface that's going to be coming up with the Launchpad. What's a Launchpad? It's going to allow you to stake CHSB to get the rewards in another new project, in another token. So you'll have your 10,000 CHSBs, for example, you'll lock them for a month, and in return you'll be getting, let's say, one of a special new token that's just been out. And yeah, this has already been announced and will be delayed a little bit, so it will come after. We've seen in the roadmap, it will come after the rest of the stuff. And finally, the CHSB yield distribution change. So this has been a little bit debated these last few hours. The idea is that the the CHSB distribution is not even enough. Cyrus doesn't find it even enough. He thinks that too few people have too much of the supply. So a way to give more to the people who have less is to play a little bit with the yield return. So for example, at this moment, if we've got 10%, people who have more than $100,000 worth of CHSB in the yield will be getting, let's say, 9.7%, and the people who have less than $1,000 in the yield will be getting 10.3%. For example, this is just explaining the concept. So they'll be giving more to people who have fewer CHSB in their wallets and less to people who have a lot, which will probably make, well, already did make a few people, let's say, a little bit frustrated.
What I would add to this, and I was saying this before we came on, Ben, obviously, for me, I fully understand why he's doing what he's doing and why the company itself, is thinking along those lines, because I guess one of the hardest things to do, if you have, we'll say 100 people, and those 100 people, there's, the standard statistics, the 80-20 rule, 20 people have most of the money, 80%, living in poverty, or even if it's just, the top 1%. So out of those 100 people, maybe 3 or 4 people are very wealthy. You have maybe sort of like, middle class has almost disappeared now, but, sort of average, and then you have the lower end of the scale, of people who are just, broke basically and living paycheck to paycheck. And the concept applies to this because throughout history, this model hasn't really changed. And SwissBorg is trying to change this with everything that they do, and trying to instill that ethos into something like this may not be welcomed all the time. But as time goes by and more people are rewarded, for staking, and it's more even, while still taking care of everybody as best they can. I think produces an environment where people not only want to be involved in something like that, but they stay, because they can see that, what, this company actually cares. I mean, for a person, think about this, right? Cyrus is in a position where he, they know who's, these token holders. They see the statistics, they see the data. And maybe on their end, they see such a huge disparity between massive holdings and, people where the average is, maybe most people only have, a couple of thousand tokens and they struggle to, to add to their position and to accumulate CHSB. And I think if that continues over time, as the years go by, nothing changes. You're still going to have whales that are making a fortune and people who are just not in a position to be able to really maximize the wealth at the way it should be maximized. And I do like this. I'm not going to lie. I do like this. And this is coming from somebody who is I hold quite a lot of CHSB. So for me, fair game. If it helps everybody, fantastic. Even if it stings a little first. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that last sentence. That was very accurate. All right. So this is basically the recap for the AMA and what we thought about it. And now we'll jump through the matter of perspective. So technical analysis versus fundamental analysis.
This is something that I've spoken about many, many times, through many smart talks, through many videos that I've done online. We did a brief overview of of this full list, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on technical analysis and fundamental analysis. And there's quite a few elements to consider, the biggest one being psychology, obviously, which plays a huge factor, mainly for, I will explain it this way. Technical analysis is more geared towards that horrible psychology of a gambler's mentality, whereas fundamental analysis brings out the fear in people over a longer period of time, okay? Because technical analysis, when you're doing technical analysis, and when I say technical analysis, I'm talking about having a system, okay, statistically that makes you money. So you've done your research, you've gone through some back testing, and we'll use a simple 20 MA crossing over a 50 MA, something, just a simple moving average crossover, okay? And for those that don't know what that is, all it means is the moving average is just an average representation of, in this case, a 20 period. So 20 periods, 20 days, and it will average that out and it will just show you a line of where the trend is, yeah? And one of the simplest, most basic forms of technical analysis is, the moving average crossover. So when the moving averages cross over, you open a trade in the direction of that crossover. Okay, so price is coming down, then the moving averages cross over and they start to go up. You enter, yeah? So when you're doing that, you've gone through your back testing, you've tried it, you've seen it, okay, yep, my system is 60% or 70% successful, 30% of the time it's not. And when you see that the system is working, your instinct is more based on, or at least the gambler in you can come out so much more. The risk in you can come out so much more. And the biases are more geared towards that kind of poker mentality, as opposed to fundamental analysis, which is over a longer period of time. Okay, I've already said that there's no difference between I'll say it like this. There's no difference between technical analysis and fundamental analysis, okay? There is a difference between a technical analyst and a fundamental analyst, yeah? There's a massive difference between the two. And this is where people sometimes get hung up or confused. So I'm gonna clear this up in a very simple way. The reason there's no difference between what you're seeing on the screen right now, analysis, not an analyst, analysis between technical and fundamental analysis is because of this. A fundamental analyst may look at a chart, okay, and say, I'm really liking, the daily chart, which is the most versatile chart there is. So you're looking at the daily chart, you'll factor in some news, you may factor in, a company's statistics, a company's data, the strength of the company or the weakness of a company, for example. But fundamental analysis is generally about news, and macroeconomics and big picture, okay? World events and so on. Well, a fundamental analyst will look at a chart. A technical analyst will look at a chart. The only difference between those two, if there was going to be one, would be the fundamental analyst will just hold on for a lot longer. But you can see the trend lasting for ages. Me as a technical analyst, somebody who likes to study charts day in, day out, if I open a trade, like if I'm looking for a trend, or if I'm looking for a trade, just a normal trade on Euro USD, for example, and I can see the daily chart is poised to move over the next 2 to 3 days, okay? I'm not gonna hold for 2 to 3 days. I just want confirmation that higher time frame daily chart is gonna be behind my hourly trade. I'm gonna get in and out, and I know that the strength is there, okay? So again, very few differences, and if any, between technical analysis and fundamental analysis. As analysts, it's different. Hugely different. Generally, a technical analyst doesn't really care about what's going off around them. The only thing they really care about is what either their indicators are saying, the chart is saying, the volumes are saying. It's all that type of stuff, indicators, volume, oscillators, charts, different types of chart analysis in the respect of using a bar chart or a line chart, or simple moving averages, support and resistance ideas and things like this. Whereas fundamental analysis, it's not like that. A fundamental analyst may look at the chart, but they're not looking at it the same way. They will look at the chart and say, how strong is this trend? Okay, how likely? I can see the news is good. I can see the company's strong. I can see there was favorable, for argument's sake, third quarter announcements that the company made a profit. They're bringing out new products, technologies, ideas, and so on. They're looking after their customers. Their cash flow strong. There's plenty of money in the bank, and so on. I'm still going to look at the chart because I want the chart to confirm what I'm seeing in the news. And I'll just quickly say this as well. Reading the news is a skill in itself. I am fortunate enough to know a trader who takes 2 trades a year. This is no joke. He takes 2 trades a year, that's it. And he sits in front of his computer, analyzing the news, analyzing global news, the global economies in different countries, the monetary policies, what each bank is doing, exchange rates, everything, interest rates, the whole 9 yards. And he will wait until the point where he can see everything lines up. And once it does, bang, he opens a trade And then once he's opened that trade, he's in it for ages, months, or almost up to a year, and then he gets out and he waits for the next one. 2 times, that's it. Whereas me, I'm looking for a trade every day. Yeah. And generally, if I find the trade I want, 2 trades a week, I'm done. Yeah. But I'm looking for that trade every day, and I'm using the charts. I don't use indicators, but I'm using the charts, and I'm trying to fine tune, like a Formula One car, every little detail of what I'm seeing on the chart, right down to a 1 minute, possibly even a tick chart sometimes, to find those imbalances so I know where price is going to go next. So I hope that, and this is a broad subject, I'm just kind of getting started basically, because I am going to revisit this in the future. But I hope that kind of clears up some things. I hope it helps, process some ideas about technical analysis and fundamental analysis as opposed to an analyst. And I hope that helps you in the future with your own personal style of trading or investing. And excitement as our word of the week. This is a fantastic word. I've gone over this word before, but I'm going to revisit it again because, the AMA came out, and in the first, or at least the first time that I mentioned excitement, as one of the words of the week, it was during the time where things were quite positive. Things were going well. And it's very easy to get caught up. And I'll just clear up, excitement is all psychological, okay? We all get, excited about a lot of different things, in our lives. But when it comes to investing or trading or money in general, if you are taking your money and you're putting it into something, okay, the word excitement, what you feel, is different. Excitement in the respect of money can have a very negative, and I say very negative, effect on how that trade or investment pans out, because you can either make it work or not. Let's say you have 2 individuals who are both invested in the same idea at the same time. And we'll use investment because it's over a longer period of time. So it gives time for excitement to build, right? Some news comes out, this happens, there's favorable, talk in the community. There's a new, utility that was, brought to the market and whatever. Yeah. And this excitement builds over time. So these 2 people are viewing their investment in different ways. And again, everything's equal. The money's invested is the same. The only difference is one is more disciplined and the other person allows the excitement to really take over. Okay. So between the 2 of them, while all of this news is coming out over a longer period of time and these investments are slowly and steadily growing, the person who's more disciplined won't allow excitement to affect their decision-making process. So you have, this kind of disciplined, calm, yep, my investment's doing well, I'm going to keep adding to it at key locations. I'm not, I don't really care what's going on. I believe in what I'm doing and I'm just going to kind of just grind through it. Okay. So when something comes out that triggers that excitement, the disciplined investor will say, yeah, that's fine. I like it. I will study it. I'll see what it is. How does it benefit, how does it benefit my investment? But he won't go full metal and say, right, I need to go and get a loan. I need to find some more money from somewhere because it's so exciting and I'm just going to go and plow more money into this. They think about this. They think about the process that they're going through and they analyze and question everything, that can impact their investment. Whereas the first guy or gal, okay, will start to feel the excitement. Some news is released, or maybe there's a primer first. Maybe they say, oh, we're thinking about doing this. We're going to be releasing some news soon. They pump up this excitement and, the person's like, oh, well, what's this? And they start to, buzzwords, they start asking around, they start talking to their friends and family. Guys, check this out, so on. And then when it's finally released, and again, just hypothetical, when it's finally released, they will say, this is amazing, this is fantastic. Excitement kicks in, they get that feeling. They go and grab some money that they're not supposed to be using, or maybe they dip into their savings, which is there for, for other things. And they plow it in because the first thing they start thinking is when the excitement kicks in, they start to see the dollars, I say dollars, but they start to see the monetary value of their investment going up. Yeah. And the greed kicks in. And when the greed kicks in, they want more and they want more and they want more. So we have to be very careful how we utilize the emotion of excitement. Okay. It's not a negative thing and it's not a positive thing. Yeah, the word excitement is just a word. Your attachment to it, how it affects you, what it does to your psychological, your psyche, your psychological makeup, which biases it affects, when you start to feel that emotion. That's what we need to focus on. Okay, but it's just a neutral word. This is very important. We need to remember that. And that's me for this week, guys. That was the word for the week, and I'm pretty much going to take a step back now. And I'm going to let the boss take care of everything else.
All right, thank you very much. So this is the end of it. Thank you for coming to this Smart Talk. Hopefully we'll see you guys next week, and wish you an excellent end of week. Cheers, everyone.
Take care, guys.